Hello and welcome to the NTI Pod Talk. My name is Diane Kaler and I'm Director of Nutrition Therapy Institute. Join me as I talk to interesting people in the field of health and wellness, food and farming, and anywhere else we find conversations that matter to our community. By listening, you'll learn a little about NTI and a lot about the things and people around you that make a difference for your wellness. Welcome and let's get started. Hi there, this is Diane Kaler, Director of Nutrition Therapy Institute. Welcome back to another edition of the NTI Pod Talk. Today, I am very happy to be speaking to a graduate of our NTMC program, Tamra Tompkins. And Tamra has some interesting ways that she is looking at using her education, and I'm really excited to talk to her about that. So Tamra, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited about this.
Very good. Well, in order to start the conversation out, I'm going to ask you a very typical question. Tell us about your background, what, motivated you to want to learn more, and then how did you find us and how did you decide to come to NTI?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I was a restaurant chef for most of my career, almost 20 years actually, mostly in Chicago. So food has always been a really important aspect of my life. I moved to Denver about 7 years ago and was working in restaurants here until COVID hit, and shut down my restaurant, and kind of gave me this, what should I do with my life moment, since all the restaurants were closed. But it really gave me a lot of time to look at my health status, because I'd been a restaurant chef for 2 decades. I had been running around in kitchens and I was mostly a pastry chef. So I had been eating cookies and bread for pretty much every meal. So I suddenly was out of a job. And so I had some time to look at my health status, which was not great. I got a lot of blood work done because I hadn't done that in a long time, and pretty much found out that I was metabolically just trashed on the inside. I was kind of what some people would refer to as skinny fat, if you've ever heard
Yep.
that term before.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I looked great on the outside, but the inside I was almost pre-diabetic, like really on that line. I had major nutrient deficiencies, a lot of like vitamin D. My vitamin D was just tanked. So a lot of nutrient deficiencies, and I kind of was just like, okay, I have all this time, like let's make some major changes to my diet, my lifestyle. Because as a chef, I was often eating processed foods. I think a lot of people think that chefs eat so well, and they must eat so well because they cook for themselves. They don't cook for themselves mostly. They eat processed foods or whatever they can quickly because they're so burnt out for cooking for other people all day. So I really looked at my diet and kind of looked at adding a lot of whole foods and started cooking for myself more at home, and went into this big rabbit hole of health and wellness. And I really wanted to learn more about it because it was making me feel so much better. So I looked at maybe career changing into being a nutritionist. Since I had so much food knowledge, I thought it'd be a really easy transition, because I had that base of food knowledge there. And that's why I started looking at schools and found NTI because I live in Arvada now. So it's right in my backyard. So it's right there. And I thought it was a great community. And so I joined the school and I really, really loved it.
Great, good. You answered a question that I was going to ask, and that is that what is it about the life of a chef that we believe is true and it is actually not true, and that is that they eat well. And I think it's so surprising that unless someone is putting intention into the way they think about food and choosing their ingredients, and oftentimes in restaurants, unless the restaurant has a specific, goal, or it is part of their sort of ethos that they select, that they only use high quality ingredients. They oftentimes use really low quality ingredients because that's how they make their margins and being able to stay profitable. And I think that people are so you know, they believe, as you said, you know, chefs, they know how to cook. They cook for themselves all the time. And, but in reality, they actually don't.
Not at all. I had a sous chef once that ate Hot Pockets pretty much all the time. That's all he ate was Hot Pockets because he was
Yeah,
so tired from working all day. He would just go home and make himself Hot Pockets all the time.
right.
And like almost prided himself on that, which is kind of weird too. But yeah, chefs really, if they do eat well, I feel like it's eating very quickly. Because you don't have a lot it's not like I would get a lunch break at work or anything like that.
Yeah.
So if I was eating like a salad, it'd be like in a deli container, like standing over a garbage can really fast.
Right.
Like it was
Right.
like
Right.
not
So,
not
yeah.
great.
So no mindful eating, no taking,
No,
sitting down and,
no. There are
taking a break.
so
Yeah.
many days where at the end of the day I'd be like, I think all I had today was cookie dough. I think that's all I ate today. Like it was bad.
Oh my gosh.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, kudos to you for having the initiative to look into your own health, getting the tests to determine that you actually truly did have some potentially serious health complications. I mean, certainly metabolic disease is a serious health complication. So congratulations for finding that out and choosing to do something about it and empower yourself with knowledge so that you could actually take steps within yourself to do something about that. So, yay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, another question I wanted to ask you, I know that you have an interest in mental health, and that's kind of what you would like to expand into your future work. What's your connection to mental health and the connection between nutrition and mental health?
Yeah, so I have a very personal connection to mental health. I was actually diagnosed bipolar at a pretty young age. Coincidentally, the age when I started drinking at a very young age, I
Oh,
got bipolar symptoms and was
mhm.
diagnosed bipolar. I was given medication for this, lamotrigine. It's an anticonvulsant. It's pretty common for bipolar diagnosis to be put on that medication. And for pretty much the next 2 decades, I was bounced around from psychiatrist to psychiatrist who just kept throwing the same medications at me. Not one of them ever asked what my alcohol intake was like, what my diet was like. That question was never even posed to me,
Wow.
which I thought was now looking back on it, I think is just absolutely insane. Um,
Yes.
but when I did that, when I lost my job and went through these dietary changes and tried to really change my health status, the first thing I noticed was my mental health was getting better, which I kind of was like, oh, this is weird. Like I'm feeling, even though I had take the same medications for 2 decades, I was still not feeling great. And then
Mhm.
when I started making these nutritional changes, my mental health started getting better. And I kind of like grabbed onto that and was like, how can I take this further? So I added in a lot of mindfulness practices. I got real into meditation, real into breathing exercises, which helps my mental status even more. And eventually, over a few years, was able to wean myself off of those decades of medication. And now I take no medication now. And I feel much better than I ever did on those medications and seeing those same doctors that weren't really helping. And I'm not trying to say that mental health medications and prescriptions are not necessary because I think they're vital for a lot of people. But a lot of people can plateau on them and they take them for years on end. And when I was prescribed these medications, the doctor told me I would have to be on them for the rest of my life, or I could face grave manic episodes and things like that. No one ever told me I could change other aspects of my life and maybe get off those medications. Like now I see this and I am enraged that doctors don't talk about this. And that
Yeah.
was a big motivating factor for me to go to NTI to gain the actual science and knowledge behind this because I knew the food portion. I knew how to, if I knew what foods to use, I knew how to use them. So I just wanted to gain the science behind all of this to help other people and empower people. And you talked a little bit about knowledge earlier and having the knowledge. And I honestly think that is the biggest missing link when we talk about mental health and nutrition is people don't have the knowledge to empower themselves. and it just knowing that there is a connection between what we put in our bodies and what we think and how we feel is the most empowering thing, just knowing that.
Wow. I shouldn't be, but I'm always surprised when people tell us these really amazing stories. But anytime they recount interaction with a medical practitioner, where there is never a discussion about, what's your diet like? How much do you drink? How much do you sleep? What's your stress level? All of those things. Um, you know, and those things are never asked. It's baffling to me, particularly, what's your diet? What do you eat? Like,
Yeah.
if you're eating cookie dough
I
as
was,
your primary
yeah.
food source.
And I was a chef, and like the drinking culture with being a chef is huge too. So basically my day was eat cookie dough. I would eat like a half a baguette for breakfast, munch on some cookie dough throughout the day, and then get off and have my shift drinks,
Yeah.
So that was like my intake. And no, even if when I was first diagnosed, if a doctor just would have been like, how much alcohol do you drink? Like
Yeah.
alcohol could have something to do with your symptoms. I would have at least known, at least
Yeah.
had it in my mind, but it
Yeah.
was never even brought up.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Shocking. Okay. So, uh, you know, you, that is all in your rearview mirror, and thank goodness, right?
Yeah.
Um, all right, so let's talk about some things that you're doing now. So first of all, let's just orient ourselves about timing. So you graduated from NTI in, remind me what, January. So you're about 5 months out from graduation. And you are working with schools, with teachers in Jefferson County and Denver County schools. And so tell us a little bit about that and what that looks like and how you're using your skills and knowledge, both that you got here, but also that you had coming into your education here in that capacity.
Yeah, so I currently partner with Jefferson County Schools, and I'll be doing the same with Denver County Schools next year. It's part of a state-sponsored wellness program where teachers from each school get to pick a wellness activity that they want. They either vote on like a yoga class or a cooking demo. So I do nutritional cooking demos for the teachers, and I try to aim on focusing on nutrition for mental health. I usually do these like before, or after school, or on their in-service days. And I just do I usually bring like a sample of whatever we're making. They get to choose the recipe. I have like a list of recipes they can choose from. And then I bring them a recipe card and demo the recipe and kind of show them how to make it. And I really try to focus on, the foods that we're using that are great for mental health, mostly whole foods, are great for that. So I like to focus on teaching teachers that whole foods are a much better way to go about our diet. I've gotten a lot of great feedback from the program. Again, I feel like this all goes back to knowledge is power, because a lot of the feedback I get from these teachers is that none of them even knew that nutrition and mental health are related. I feel like that science, the gut-brain axis science, is still relatively new, and it hasn't really been mainstreamed yet. So a lot of people, it's like shocking news, just like it was to me when but I found out like the hard way. It's like kind of a shock, because there are so many people who struggle with anxiety, depression, ADHD, especially in the schools. Uh, and a lot of the teachers, I think the most shocking thing for many of the teachers were how food can affect ADHD symptoms, because they see it every day in so much of the population of their school students. And that was just kind of like shocking a lot of them, that all these students that they see suffering from ADHD symptoms, it could have something to do with their diet and their sugar intake and what they're eating every day. It's so sad. Some teachers are just, I had one teacher that was like, what should I tell the parents to feed these kids then? And I'm like, oh, that is such a loaded question. I would love for you to, us to be able to tell parents that, oh, all you need to do is feed your kids whole foods, but that's such an entangled issue in America that a lot of busy parents who feel like they're doing the best for their kids are feeding their kids flavored yogurt in the morning, which is full of sugar, and not realizing how much harm they're doing when they think they're doing well. And it's very confusing, to tell people that the thing that they says is healthy or that says is, plant-based or whatever they think is healthy is really harming their kids. So it's very interesting. And I feel like just, yeah, giving teachers this knowledge has been a huge awakening for me too. Just how many people do not understand or even know about the relation between mental health and nutrition.
So first of all, we need to make a disclaimer here, and you've already said it, but I just want to remind, we are in no way dismissing the importance and need for people to take medications when necessary. And certainly that's a discussion that they have, and that, they enter into that, medication, taking, event through discussion with their medical practitioner. And a nutrition therapist is never going to be making recommendations for or against any kind of medications, because that's not what we do. But we do have knowledge to utilize nutritional strategies as adjunctive supportive care, right? And so can you talk about, just like one or two top things that maybe you have used in your life, or that you would say to these teachers? I know you said whole foods, but can we get more specific about how actually specific foods can be beneficial as part of a more comprehensive plan for someone?
Yeah, so like you said, Whole Foods is a great general. I like to really there's some specific foods that are great for mental health. Big one is omega-3 fatty acids, so fatty fish, nuts and seeds, things like that. I like to incorporate as much of that as possible into these recipes. I use a lot of nuts and seeds. I think it's great. Like a lot of pestos with different nuts and seeds in them and things like that. I really like to demo those. And with that, just like ways to sneak those things in to your daily diet, instead of I feel like people kind of focus too much about what recipe should I use in this, but I like to kind of be like, oh, we'll keep some pumpkin seeds and throw them on a salad, or put them in your pesto instead of pine nuts that you usually use. So taking those things and kind of sprinkling them in throughout your day is a big thing I like to focus on.
Nice. Yeah. And something like that can be relatively easy. There's not a lot of overhead and time and energy spent figuring out how to get nuts and seeds, or even using pestos or whatever into their diet. So I think that's a great one. Yeah, and I think that, I'm a big believer in B vitamins and choline being really important for brain health. And so that's all incorporated into, the whole foods paradigm, because our most reliable source of these nutrients is going to come from whole foods. So yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So as I mentioned, we're talking about this in terms of a comprehensive plan, and you, likely will be working or striving to work in environments where you are working as part of a team, to have a team approach to mental health. So talk about how that looks, working with, or how you perceive or predict that it can look, working with mental health practitioners, medical doctors, psychologists type training. Based on what what do you see working as a method or a strategy for collaboration with these types of professionals?
Yeah, so I think working with a team of practitioners is very beneficial for clients. Mental health conditions are so multifaceted and they can stem from so many different factors, environmental factors, biological factors, developmental factors, nutritional factors, past traumas. So not one practitioner is going to know all of those, where all those things stem from. So I feel like the team approach is the way to go. I think open communication between a team of practitioners, so a nutritionist, a therapist, a psychiatrist, your regular doctor, all those people coming together and kind of establishing an open and transparent channel of communication is really, really key for helping someone. This can be like regular meetings, like case conferences, or like clearly documenting client progress so that it's like able for being able to access by all the practitioners. I really feel like it helps the clients feel supported in more ways than just a therapist can be like, oh, you should eat better, but like
Right.
how does that translate?
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? And like like even if you tell someone, oh, you should be eating more whole foods, what does that mean? Or how do I do that? A lot of people, especially since I have a cooking background, I love teaching people how to cook, like how to hold a knife properly, how to cut things properly. Because I feel like if you know those things, it's easier to create your own meals and cook for yourself rather than a therapist just being like, here's this 7-day meal plan, go home and make this. And I'm not going to offer any support on how to make it, or like what pot do I use, what do I use to do this, like a lot of therapists, I feel like even though they try to could help in that way, it's like you really need that collaboration. I also think working as a team really helps with like goal setting, because you can take goals from each practitioner can kind of help collaborate goals with the client. Yeah, I think like regular case reviews and monitoring those people meeting up regularly really helps. I also like working in a team because it creates a great referral network for everyone involved. I team now with 2 therapists particularly, and it's great because I get referrals for them. And if a client comes to me or finds me and is not seeing a therapist, I usually refer them to a therapist. So it's this great kind of network of referrals, which is great for business. As nutritional therapists, we're not supposed to diagnose. And it's hard when you just see people coming to you and they don't really know what their issue is, or they're undiagnosed, but they have XYZ symptoms. And they come to you and say, okay, I have all these symptoms. Like, what am I? Or what is wrong with me? And it's technically not in our scope to say that.
That's
So I
correct.
think I love working with other practitioners. It's also, if you pair with doctors, it's great for lab testing because you can get lab testing done easily through doctors. So it's really just like great all around. I feel like everyone involved really benefits from like a practitioner team. Yeah, it's benefits for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, it is an environment like this a reality? Like, do environments like this exist? Have you seen them? Have you, is it a reality, or is this kind of just like, well, it would be nice if this could happen, but it never will?
Yeah, I mean the 2 therapists I work with are great collaborators. We do like weekly meetings about our clients,
Oh, that's
really
great.
stay on the same page with where they're all at. I'm currently also interning with another nutritionist, Erin Livers from Boulder. And she does the same thing. She works with Dr. Eric Dorninger, and they have a team of nutritionists, and they do weekly grand rounds. They do like a weekly meeting with all the nutritionists and the team of doctors, and they do weekly meetings like that. And so they stay up on case files of patients. So I do see it working, and I see it working in other places. And I think it is the future of collaborative care is, especially if you want to go the holistic route, is collaboration, because it takes us out of like, the systems biology where it's one doctor for this and one doctor for that, and none of those doctors talk.
Yeah.
And that's why people stay sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if you're looking for holistic or functional medicine help, having a team of practitioners is really the most beneficial way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so Do you have any like uh stories of examples of, besides yourself, I mean, you have a really compelling story yourself, but any other examples of stories that you have seen people find benefit from making nutritional changes, and mental health or other health conditions that you have either directly worked with or tangentially worked with?
Yeah, there's one client that I have right now that kind of comes to mind. I met her, she was a teacher and was at one of my cooking demos. And I stayed afterwards and talked to her, and she was literally in tears. This was a few months ago. Uh, because I usually share my personal story when I do these cooking demos of how I got myself off medication. And I really think that's a good place to come from because it shows people that it can be done, and it just gives people a little bit of hope. And that's exactly what she said to me, was that she was on two different anti-anxiety medications and an SSRI, and was having terrible symptoms because of it, side effects, terrible side effects, and was told by her doctor that she would be on these medications for the rest of her life and that she had no choice. And she had no idea. Again, no one had told her that she was also probably about 50 pounds overweight, towing the line of type 2 diabetic as well. And no one really told her that her blood sugar regulation could have something to do with her anxiety. So just hearing that was like refreshing for her. She was so like emotional about it because she had no idea that that was even an option for her. So since then, I've been working with her one-on-one, and she's been seeing amazing strides. And with people who are already on medication, I really like to, like you said, do adjunct therapies. Like, I'm not trying to get anyone off medication. That's just what
Mhm.
eventually happened for me. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of nutrients you can add in or things you can do to help those medications work even better. So we kind of I've been working with her on that, on helping like her medications actually work for her and maybe take away some of those side effects. And she's doing great. Honestly, I've done, I went to her house and did like an in-person cooking class. I like to do that
Mhm.
sometimes. Sometimes I'll do like a grocery store tour. But
Mhm.
I really like to do, if they are local, go in and do like a quick little cooking class about how to hold a knife properly, knife skills, and then we usually do like a quick saute or a quick stir fry recipe and like a soup or something like that. Like just a base recipe just to get them comfortable cooking in the kitchen. And I think that
Yes.
does like a world of difference for
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
Um, and now she's cooking her own meals, which is just like a huge step in the right direction. Because before that, she was not cooking anything for herself. So just
Mhm.
cooking for herself, she's just like felt better and feels more empowered by it. I think just like we haven't had any like huge weight gains or any like major breakthroughs, but I often don't feel like that's always necessary to have.
Yeah.
I feel like the really important things are the day to day. Like I can wake up and cook myself breakfast. Like that
Mhm.
feels good to me, you know?
Mhm.
So helping people achieve that, and she's doing great. And I think I'm gonna go in and do another cooking class with her. And it's just been things like that. It's helping people like that that really are giving me motivation to keep doing this.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you just said two of my most favorite words, which is confidence and empowerment. Um, uh, you know, helping someone to recognize their inner capacity to take care of themselves is hugely rewarding, first of all, as a practitioner. Second of all, it gives them confidence, and then they feel empowered to actually take care of themselves. Because, you know, it always boils down to us needing to take the responsibility of taking care of ourselves, because while there are all kinds of practitioners out there, even, nutrition therapists, holistic nutrition professionals, we are not in their house 24 hours a day, right? And so they still have to take on that responsibility. And with the education and, cooking skills, that you helped provide, and that our our graduates and our chef graduates are able to provide, they do get that confidence, and then they feel empowered. So lovely stories. Any other advice for people who are interested in incorporating nutrition, cooking into their health strategy that we haven't talked about?
Honestly, just learning. I feel like learning how to cook. I feel like cooking
Yeah.
is so overwhelming for people. Uh, Take a cooking class. Do it with your friends. Like make it a social thing. Or there's so many online cooking classes or YouTube cooking classes. Invite like 5 of your girlfriends over and make a night of it. Like take a cooking class online or take a knife skills class or watch some knife skills things on YouTube. Just giving yourself some like basis of cooking, and not that will help you not get overwhelmed with recipes, because also teach cooking classes at a recreational cooking school down in Denver called Stir. And a lot of times people will come in and just have no basis of cooking knowledge, and you'll see them freeze up in front of a stove and just be like, I don't know what I'm doing. This makes me so nervous. And so I feel like just getting comfortable with that and getting comfortable in a kitchen and messing around with food, like play around with some food, buy some new food you've never tried before and throw it in the oven and see what it tastes like, just really trying these things and trying to empower yourself to know how to cook a little bit better. Because I feel like the food aspect is where people really break down. You can give 7-day meal plans all day to people and hand them PDFs all day, but will they actually do it, and do they feel comfortable in front of a stove is really what I think it boils down.
Yeah, absolutely. I was shocked. Several years ago, I had a student who was, I believe she was a real estate agent. I can't remember the exact details, but she was talking one day in class about the fact that I think she was a real estate agent or some sort of real estate broker. And there was a new condo building that was just opening up for people to buy condos, and they didn't have kitchens. They built it specifically geared towards those professionals who don't need a kitchen because they don't cook. So they use that space for whatever. I don't know what they use the space for, but they don't have kitchens. They had a refrigerator and a sink, and that's it.
It reminds me of like dorm college days or something.
Yes, I know.
Eating
I know.
ramen
And
on
I
the
was like,
subway.
what? This is crazy. Why are we enabling people to continue to not know how to take care of themselves? It is crazy to me.
Yeah, that is crazy. And I feel like that just like instills into people that it's okay to not cook for
Yes.
and that's like a normal American, like it's just such an American thing. Like we don't
Yeah.
need it. We got a package with food in it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. There's a restaurant on every corner. Why do you need to know how to cook? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right. Well, good. So, any other things you want to talk about, like your, uh, goals for the future of integrating your, sort of, relatively new nutrition, knowledge and your culinary skills into, a mental health career?
Well, I just accepted a contract nutritionist position at the Raleigh House, which is an outpatient facility in Denver for addiction and mental health. So I'm really excited about that. They're actually starting it's a brand new wellness program, and they wanted to make it holistic, which is amazing to me because most facilities usually go with clinical dietitians, which have a little bit of a different idea of nutrition than holistic practitioners do. Holistic, we think about whole body and the mind and mindful eating and how that all relates. So I'm really excited because they were looking for a holistic practitioner and did not want a clinical practitioner. So I think that's really exciting, and it kind of gives hope for the future that facilities like this are actually realizing that holistic ways of nutrition might benefit their patients, which is so great.
Yeah,
Um,
that
I
is
really
awesome.
Yeah, and I really think more practitioners will start getting on the collaborative train and working with nutritionists, because I feel like holistic nutritionists are kind of pushed by the wayside sometimes, because like I can just get that meal plan to someone and they'll be fine, but
Mhm,
really
mhm,
implementing it takes a person, a personal approach and some help
mhm,
with that.
mhm,
So I really just hope that the future of healthcare and nutrition and mental health especially is just collaborative teams and really increasing awareness of this, because like I said, the science behind all of this is like relatively new. We're still learning so much about the gut brain axis and our microbiome and how that affects mental health. And I actually just presented a research poster at HealCon, the NAMP's
Oh,
conference,
great.
yeah, on 2 different strains of probiotics for the use of for adjunct therapy and depression.
Mhm,
And the science on that is so new, and there's so many more studies that have to be done, but it's very exciting new research that they're learning. So I feel like just more research and just making people aware is the biggest, is what my really goal is to just, because once you know, then you can learn yourself or like educate yourself on how to better help your own mental health.
mhm. Yeah, awesome. Always so interesting and inspiring to hear people who see these bright futures for, whatever the health condition is, but the integration of nutrition and holistic principles into those health things. So that's really wonderful. Um, well, I want to thank you so much for being here and taking time out of your day to be here. Tell us how people can connect with you.
They can go to my website, which is www.theholistichef.com. It's holistic with a WH. They can also find me at The Holistic Chef on Instagram or Facebook, and just reach out. You can email me. My email's on my website, or you can send me a message on social media. I love to hear from people.
Great. Good. Well, thank you so much. We'll see you sometime soon.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty. Hi, Diane Kaler here again. If you found this conversation interesting and haven't already become a student at NTI, check us out at ntischool.com. We hope to see you soon.